public school person, and my 21st year as a public school superintendent. So I'm here to tell you that we live it every day. We live these reforms that have been brought into us, and that they're just not doing anything to help student performance. So I want you to see the passion in me, and that I'm here to serve you. There are 4 major areas that I talk about as I go across the state. They are individuals, returning our schools back to helping individuals. They are supporting and valuing our teachers, workforce development, and local control. And I have to tell you that we have really gone the wrong direction with treating our students as individuals, because now they are a test score. And I'm going to work extremely hard to eliminate the high-stakes testing, give our classrooms back to the teacher, and teach all the way up through the spring semester, instead of doing what we do at our school, and that's test prep for 3 months so that our kids can pass a test, which is really wrong. I want to get back to allowing a teacher to be in control of that room again, and actually, thank you. It was mentioned that the 3rd grade reading test, how wrong was that? Because from the very beginning, to have a high-stakes test for an 8-year-old, and at my school, we actually had a little boy crying in our front office. And I told his grandma, I said, that's why we're running, because of the abuse that we're putting on these kids. And the test itself didn't measure reading. It measured half language arts. So the 8,000 that failed, we don't even know why they failed the test. And 4,000 of them were our special needs children. They shouldn't be taking the test in the first place, because they have an IEP that gauges their growth. So I want to take the testing away from them and allow their IEP to drive their growth, and let that team be in control of the special needs kids, because that's a population we need to take care of and we need to cater to. The other, supporting and valuing teachers, I said it just a second ago, but we really need to give their classroom back to them. We need to work for higher pay so that we can bring more teachers, entice our young people to come into education again, and retain our veteran teachers, because they're leaving us because of all of these reforms that they see, as I do, aren't doing us any good. So that's my fight. My fight is right there with that, because I don't believe in these reforms that we've had. They are not doing us any good in our public schools, and we're spending millions of our dollars for that. So we have together we have to fight. Workforce development is one of the key issues that I've been working on, because business people across the state are saying that the end of instructions that we're giving in high school are not doing any good for us, and that they're getting in the way of skill development, of workforce development. I want to make it where we can cater to the individual interests of our students, that 75% of the population who aren't going to go to college or do not want to go to college. I want to work with them, because they need to have that job where they can make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 when they leave high school. Right now, they get their diploma, they pass the test, they get the diploma, and they say, what do I do now? I want to put that answer in their hands, where they can go make money and they can actually be a productive citizen, and not be leaving a college or high school and following their friends to college just because that's the thing to do. And this group, End of Instruction, really took away power from the local school board, because I believe in you. I believe in my school board that we make the best decisions for our kids in our community. So I want the power back with you. Seat time is powerful for these kids. And you shouldn't take a biology course all year and make an A and then have to pass a test to say that the teacher did a good job. We need to get back to really looking at what we're doing and focusing our money back on helping them instead of all this testing. My opponent says she has no allegiance to any special interest groups. But I'm here to tell you that I have allegiance to you as school board members, and that I have allegiance to you as superintendents, parents, children, because that's who I'm here to serve. I have that allegiance. For the last 15 years, my opponent has been a charter school CEO. And even on Flashpoint here a couple of weeks ago, it was mentioned, if public schools were doing their job, we wouldn't need charter schools. I'm here to tell you that public schools are doing their job, and we're doing a great job with our kids. This Tuesday is about charter versus public, and I got in this fight against Janet Barisi because I didn't believe in that charter school reform. And so that's what it's all about Tuesday. I need your help, and I need you to go to the polls on Tuesday. Elect Dr. John Cox. Thank you.
Dr. Cox, thank you. Next is Dr. Frida Deska. Dr. Deskin is a longtime educator and founder of Aztec Charter School in Oklahoma City. Dr. Deskin was on Flashpoint a couple of weeks ago. Was it last week, Frida? You and John were on? A couple of weeks ago, that's right. We had the U.S. Senate candidates on. And starting right now, Dr. Deskin, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. And I so appreciate having the opportunity to speak to you. I started my 44th year the other day. I was inspired to become a teacher by a teacher, Philip Wilson, my 6th grade teacher. I have been in the trenches. I've talked the talk. I've walked the walk. I was a veteran teacher who received Teacher of the Year everywhere that I was, which is only a few schools. But I believe that people recognize leadership. I have always been proactive, whether as a teacher or as a leader in whatever I have been involved in. And I believe that this position requires someone that is proactive and not reactive, someone that will go to the mat for the children of Oklahoma and for the schools of Oklahoma. I have a 43-year in education, and in the past 14 years, yes, I have a public charter school. You know, everywhere I go across the state, I hear the same thing when it comes to administration. What are you going to do to cut those administrative costs? We're spending too much money in administration. Even though I tried to explain to them, the same dishonest information has been given to them for so long that they do not know where those administrative costs go and what they include, and are not just a superintendent or a principal's salary. Just as that misinformation has been spread again and again and again, so has the information been spread that I'm not really a superintendent. Well, you need to tell my board that, and you need to tell the University of Oklahoma, where I took all the courses to become an administrator, and you need to tell Harvard University, where I completed a certificate in strategic school management, because every day I work as a superintendent in an inner-city school. I know how to do a personnel report all on my own. I can do a child nutrition report, upload, do whatever I need to do, all on my own. I create a budget, I manage a budget, I oversee that budget, and even though public charters in Oklahoma only receive 58% of the funding, didn't know that, did you? There are some Oklahoma City School Board members here in this audience. I hope you will ask them. Because Oklahoma City Public Schools receives the ad valorem, the 4 meals, the gross production tax, and the transportation monies go back into the Common Ed budget to be spread across the state. I founded a charter school in inner city Oklahoma City for at-risk children. We have approximately 850 students now with almost 100% poverty. Oklahoma City schools, check with folks that are here, do not have the room or the classrooms for these children. They are already overcrowded. So if the option as an educator is to let them be on the street and let them follow many of their parents into the prison system, I just don't agree with that. I am for all the children of Oklahoma. Just because, this may sound a little crass, but just because a farmer and a pig lives on a farm, it doesn't make the farmer a pig. I am not Jana Barisi. I oppose the expansion. I have publicly done that and fought it all through the last legislation of expansion of charters beyond what they were intended in the state of Oklahoma, which is in the inner city, Oklahoma City and Tulsa. We have got to fight the for-profit groups that want to come into education and go into our communities, not because they care about children, not because they're dedicated, but because they see money. I really don't see where they see the money, because I have to write grants to augment ours. We took a detour in Oklahoma education, and it's time that we get back on track, and we get back on track in a big way. I want to cut bureaucracy and paperwork at all levels. I have been working with our former state superintendent, Dr. Sharon Lease, Misty Kimbrough, Leland Taylor, to do just that, seeing where can we cut some of this bureaucratic paperwork. Because when we as school administrators are doing paperwork, we can't work with our principals. When our principals are doing that excessive paperwork, they can't work with our teachers. And our teachers are drowning, and they're leaving our profession in hordes. We have got to bring them back. We have got to bring them back with, as Kathy said, a PR marketing message. And I've already talked to a number of firms who have told me, Frida, we will donate our services. You just tell us what to say. We need to let the people of Oklahoma know that public education is alive and well, and that we know where our issues are. But if we had the funding and not the mandates, we might be able to meet those expectations and more. I urge you to vote for not reform. That reminds me of reform school. We just need to transform, and we need a renaissance in Oklahoma education. And I am prepared to work with you, your communities, and your schools, just as I have done throughout my 43 years in education. The last name is Deskin, as in put your chair in your desk, desk in. I would appreciate your vote on Tuesday. All I know is hard work. I come from a rural community where I started working in the fields at age 13 and have never been unemployed. Let's work hard and get things back on track. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Frida Deskin. Our next candidate is Joy Hoffmeister. Joy is a former teacher and former member of the State Board of Education who is president of Kumon of South Tulsa. She defeated the incumbent in the primary election and will be the Republican candidate in the general election. Joy, you have 5 minutes starting now.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone who's here for the opportunity to be with you today. I appreciate your service as boards of education members. Also, your service as superintendents for career technology centers, as well as in our common education. And then all other leaders that are here and spouses. I think we have some family as well. I appreciate the service that you've given to the school children of Oklahoma. And that's really what this is about. For those Republicans who are here, who voted in the Republican primary, thank you, because we did it together. And I'm so grateful that we were able to take out Janet Marie. We had to do this, and it is time to finish the job. And what this means is we have to put students first. I am committed, and was as a State Board of Education member, to stand up and be an advocate for a strong and vibrant public school system in our state. Our children deserve the best. And we have to have leadership that is willing to fight for A through F grading system to be reliable and accountable and valid. We are going to have to work with our legislature to do that. We must fight and have an advocate who will stand up and explain, here is what we did successfully with the funds that you legislators had entrusted to us last year. Here's what we need for the mandates that you've just asked us to achieve. And then here's our vision for where we can go and what we can do to better serve the school children of Oklahoma if you share that vision. And it's going to take an individual who's willing to spend the time to foster relationships for inclusive and collaborative leadership to accomplish that. I want to be about results, and it's about working together. It's about respecting the expert in the classroom, respecting the fact that in the battle for excellence in education, our teachers are on the front lines, and our superintendents are like the battalion commanders in that army. You can't get anything done if you aren't working together with each of the leaders throughout that chain. But the legislature is a part of this. Our state leaders are a part of this. Our federal delegation are a part of this. If we're going to address the real issues of over-regulation, we're going to have to address No Child Left Behind. And we must understand that, yes, government needs to set high expectations, and we must provide the supports to achieve that. But then government needs to get out of the way and let teachers teach. And I'm committed to that, and I will fight for our children first. You know, it was a fierce fight, what I've already done. And it's not over. You know, Janet's the gift that keeps on giving, and I'm seeing that. But it's worth fighting for. And there's one candidate today who did stand alone on the State Board of Education and saw the dysfunction. And we can't have that. We cannot do it. Our children are our future. They deserve a world-class education. We must have high standards, and I'm committed to doing this. I am grateful for the service of both Dr. Cox and Dr. Frida Deskin. They've given their lives to education. This is about respect for those who serve. But we have to have a fighter who can get it done. And I'm asking for your support so that we can accomplish the job we started when I entered this race almost a year ago. And we will get it done if we move forward together. We can get a lot done with this opportunity because let's face it, this is an opportunity where there's a focus on education like we have not seen. And some people have said, why do you want to do this? And I am compelled to, because I believe the best years in Oklahoma education history are to come. We've seen a historic race. We have a future and potential ahead of us, and I want to be a part of that. I'm asking for your support and your vote. Let's be about results. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Now listen, let me just say something about Joe and Kathy and Joy and John and Frida. Politics is tough, man. I mean, especially these days. It's tough on the candidates, it's tough on their families, and all of these wonderful candidates we've had today have a passion for Oklahoma. Whether you agree with all their ideas or not, they're out there and they're wanting to make changes for what's best for all of us. And this is a full contact sport. It's not easy. So let's give them recognition for throwing their hat in the ring. Please. We appreciate you all. Before I go, I know you guys are going to have lunch, and it reminds me of another story. I know there's a lot of folks from rural Oklahoma here. Did you hear about the two robins flying over the wheat field the other day? They were flying along, and they looked down on this cut wheat field, and they saw a bunch of big worms crawling around, and they thought, oh man, this is great. They went down and they had their fill of worms, and it was a wonderfully warm day, as it's been lately, and the two robins were so full, one looked at the other and said, you know what, this would be a great day just to sit here, lie down, catch a nap, and bask in the sun a little bit. What do you think? The other robin said, I think that's a great idea. Let's just bask in the sun after our big meal and sleep. So they did. And about that time, an alley cat was walking down the road, and you know, they love birds, and he saw the two robins basking in the sun, and he went over and gobbled them up and said, I just love Baskin Robbins. So think about that at lunch today, okay? Hey, as Mike Turpin says, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. All right. Thank you again to the candidates for speaking today, and I'd like to welcome back to the stage OSSB Executive Director, Sean Heim.
Thanks again to Kevin for being here today. Candidates, thank you for your time. I know you're on the road and very busy. I hope all of you learned something today. I know all of our candidates will stay around and answer your questions. Make sure you know where they stand on education issues. And then you have to go home, share that with your friends and family, go to the polls next Tuesday and again in November to ensure that we have candidates and elected officials who support public education. Have a great day.